featuring Nicki Minaj. The South Korean group became the first K-pop band ever to score a top 40 hit single on the UK's official singles chart. And now they've won the Best International Group Award at the Radio 1 Teen Awards. And despite not having a UK top 10 single yet, they're one of the world's biggest boy bands and recently played 2 sold-out shows at the O2 in London. Taylor Glasby is a music journalist and writes about K-pop, and most people's only real experience of K-pop, by the way, will be Psy with his massive hit Gangnam Style. But I asked Taylor if it's a huge industry.
Absolutely, but Psy was never what most people would term K-pop. Psy was not an idol, nor is he a group. And he was also a little bit older than your average K-pop idol.
Well, when you say he was never an idol, he's not a group, why is that significant?
Basically, K-pop stands for Korean pop, and what Korean pop has boiled down to over the years is that it consists of single gender groups, so all male group, all female group. They range from anything from 4 members up to 18 members, and normally they're around the age of, they kind of start around 15. Their careers usually end around 8 years later, if you're lucky. So that's what we term K-pop, and the artists within those K-pop groups are known as idols.
Is the music distinct then? The formation's distinct as you describe it, but what about the music?
Well, essentially K-pop has always taken from a myriad of influences, from kind of Western pop music, hip-hop, electronica, even rock music, and they kind of put it all together, they mash it all up. I mean, they have writers they use a lot of Swedish writers. As we all know, the Swedes write amazing pop music. They also have their own teams, Korean teams. They have American writers, they have British writers. So it's really a melting pot, and that's what K-pop is about. It's this beautiful, big, diverse melting pot of sound. And of course, because it's done by Korean artists, it ends up being Korean at the same time, if that makes sense.
It does make sense, but what doesn't make sense to me is how a K-pop group, in this case BTS, without a top 10 hit in the UK, is able to sell out 2 nights at the prestigious O2 in London.
Right, I know. A lot of people were really surprised by that because it seemed to come out of nowhere. But it really hasn't. BTS have been around since 2013. They have been kind of working towards world domination for the past kind of 18 months. Things started taking off for them around the Billboard Awards in America in 2017. So really, I mean, it's been fan-driven. So all of this has been happening online, on Twitter, on Instagram, on YouTube. So the kind of older generation hasn't really been paying a lot of attention, but BTS actually have been in the UK top 20 albums 3 times already. So really, it's not that much of a surprise to people who are on the kind of, I guess, with their finger on the button.
Who were their fans over here?
They actually have a very diverse range of fans. I was at the first show in the UK, and behind me were a line of young women, I would say probably around mid-20s. And then in front of me was this adorable 15-year-old girl who helped my friend with her light stick, which did not work. And then down the row, I saw a couple of older people, so somewhere around in their 30s. And then further down the other way was the boyfriends of the girls. Normally boyfriends don't go to these shows. They kind of, yes, I'll meet you afterwards. But BTS are actually appealing to a lot of different people rather than just your average 17-year-old girl.
Well, it's mostly girls then. It's mostly teenage girls then, is it?
Mostly teenage girls that I saw around me, but I wouldn't actually discount the amount of power they have to draw fans who are 30 plus.
And are they mostly British teenage girls, or do we have a contingency of Korean teenage girls living in Britain?
I've always gone to Korean pop shows, Korean hip-hop shows in London. There is a very big contingent of Southeast Asian people, so whether they're from Korea or Japan, but yes, there are Korean girls that go to these shows, but again, there's not that kind of diversity that I see at pop shows.
And how many records do these people tend to sell? Are they million-selling records?
Well, BTS, they're the biggest boy band on the planet right now. Their sales over their career, probably, we're talking, estimate about 10 million sales. Some groups don't sell that many. I remember when BTS first got onto the Billboard World charts, and I think they got onto the charts with 5,000 physical sales in the US, which doesn't sound like a lot, but at the time, for a K-pop act to even get onto a Billboard chart was, it was pretty good.
And that's not the only difference between them and other K-pop bands. They also are in control of their own social media. Why is that a big deal?
BTS have made certain moves. They come from a smaller company. BTS is their only idol group. So they've given them some leeway to do things like that, which is control their social media. A lot of groups have not had that luxury. They are changing, but I think it's more because we've all done things on social media which we're not proud of. Kanye, for example, who can't seem to stop typing.
And never mind Kanye, Dawson, for example.
Oh, absolutely.
So we've all done it, as you say.
We've all done it, and I think it's just when you've got a group of maybe 6 or 7 members controlling that influx of thought processes just being whacked onto the public sphere, it's probably easier that they don't let them all have a go at social media.
And what about the music? Is it as manufactured as the groups?
I hear this all the time. The one thing I always get about Korean pop music is that it's not real music because it's so manufactured. Most pop music has either been touched by many, many hands. BTS is just one of a handful of groups in the Korean pop scene who are actually writing a lot of their own lyrics. They're producing songs, etc., etc. So some groups don't have any control over their music. They go in the studio and they sing what they're told to sing. And some groups like BTS or Monster X or Pentagon, they go in and they kind of get, hands on. So yes, there's some authenticity in Korean pop, and there's also a manufactured side.
Yeah, Taylor Glasby there, music journalist, writes about K-pop, and I know what you're all thinking.